Warning, this podcast contains heavy spoilers for not just one movie, but entire franchises. We highly recommend going and watching these movies before listening to us as a companion piece that stitches all the timelines into one creepy, crime-ridden story. There will be no more spoiler warnings. We do not break character. After this, there is no turning back. You've been warned. Hit the music.
You are talking about the nonsensical ravings of a lunatic mind.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's
alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to It's Alive podcast. It's a true crime, paranormal, interstellar podcast covering unbelievable stories that sound like they were ripped straight from the pages of a Hollywood script. I am your host, the outlaw Dr. HR Smoking Scene THC, and with me as always is my very own Scream Queen, the perfect combination of beauty and brains, the bride of Smoking Scene, the India Heart, the expert of guts and gore, the gorgeous, the sexy Amy Rose.
Hi.
Amy, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year, same us. Same horror for us, nothing's changed.
Yes, it has.
What?
We're going to try to do our live show.
Shh.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if we've talked about that yet. We'll talk about it later. We're starting off with a doozy this year.
We are.
We're kicking right in with something nice and disgusting and grimy and nasty.
Yucky.
So do you want
what a way to start the new year.
Hey, well, like I said, new year, same us. You always hear this new year, new me. Fuck off. We ain't changing for nobody. Let's crack on with this one. This is today we're doing the Water Street Butcher and the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Yes. So, well, when the police entered the abandoned house on 345 Water Street, they expected squatters and maybe even a drug den. But what they didn't expect was the first tape. A single VHS cassette sitting in the middle of the living room floor, unlabeled, positioned like someone wanted it to be found. But what really turned the investigation into something else entirely was realizing that tape was only the beginning. Officers started searching the house, crawling under floorboards, checking ceiling tiles, opening vents, and the tapes were everywhere. Some carefully hidden and others left out like trophies. But by the end of the day, they'd uncovered nearly 800, and every single one documented a crime.
You know you're dealing with a different breed of bastard when he leaves you a scavenger hunt. Most people hide evidence. This guy curated it.
Yeah.
But when did this happen? At what point did VHS tapes become so scary?
Creepy. Add the ring.
Do you think? Because it's like, because it now feels like a very horror thing, doesn't it? You don't hear of like VHS collectors of like Disney or fucking adventure or action.
Yes, you do. Loads of people collect Disney VHS.
Right, Disney because they might be worth something.
Yeah. Little ones like the Little Mermaid that have the hidden penis on the front of the covers, things like that.
But my point being is it is a very horror thing, right? And even the analog look of a VHS, you know, the quality of a VHS tape and all that, it gives off very horror vibes. Even people who make horror movies who want to try and make them look old or found footage, they're always going to add that VHS tracking issue into the fucking thing. That grainy tracking. My God. Now there's horror for you. Does anybody remember tracking? Do you remember tracking?
I've heard the term. Maybe I do know what it is.
I don't fully understand how it used to happen, to be honest with you. And for years, I didn't know anything about it. It was a friend of mine who eventually showed me how to fix it. And on your VCR, there's a little button called tracking.
I have, yeah.
So when the tape starts going all fucking funny and the picture's going up and down, you can press it. You can keep twitching this dial so that it'll steady up the tape again. I assume it must be maybe the film or something. Going
Yeah,
off
it's
the
like
rules
when
or
the
something.
tracking
I'm
on
not
your
too sure.
car is off and you got to get it realigned so it
I
doesn't
know.
pull
I
to one
just
side.
remember fucking
Has to be
tracking used to be
yeah.
a pain in the fucking hole. But
Never
yeah,
had to do
at
it.
just some point these things became scary. You know, you see a VHS tape and it's like, I wonder
well,
what's
there
on
are
that.
urban legends with VHSs. I don't know when they just came into existence, though.
I wonder what will happen when we get the next medium. Because, I mean, we obviously don't know what's coming next. But when the next medium
scary
comes around,
streaming
it's like,
service.
oh my God, there's a DVD! Or, you know, okay,
Yeah.
a hard drive, I wonder what's on it. Dun, dun,
Hard drives are
dun.
scarier than DVDs.
You think so?
Feels like a hard drive is a black hole that there could be absolutely anything fucking on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? You could find anything. A DVD just feels like pop it in, let's see what's on it.
Yeah, but you're right. The next thing is going to be a streaming. Holy shit, I found Netflix. Guys, I found Netflix. Prepare yourself. We're all going to die.
Okay, so the FBI's initial review of this footage revealed a timeline that stretched over a decade. There was assaults, break-in, abductions, killings, and sometimes they were meticulously staged, sometimes filmed like an afterthought. And the quality varied. Some shot with shaky hands, while others were mounted on cameras he'd clearly installed in advance.
Hey.
One detail became immediately clear, that the man behind the camera had been active for years and his victims were chosen with care.
And not just chosen, they were studied. The guy had whole tapes of research, following women home, driving behind cars for miles, testing locks. He was doing field work like he was prepping a dissertation. This to me feels like if you took Joseph James D'Angelo and Dennis Rader and mixed them into two.
Yeah, I can
You know,
see
with
that.
the kind of randomness of what he's willing to do, and from break-in to assaults to murder, where it varies. I know BTK was all about just kill. But then the research is very methodical, like
carefully
BTK.
choosing.
I'm surprised neither of them did tape anything. BTK seems like a guy who would have loved to have had a tape collection.
Yes. Why do you only do pictures, I wonder? Do you think that tapes would be too
He didn't
incriminating?
take that many pictures.
He did take pictures,
Yeah, in one scene.
though, with the blonde curly.
The woman he took to the church basement and took pictures with. But in every other case, I don't think he did.
What am I thinking? So where the person had a glass on their eyes, over their eyes.
That would be called Red Dragon.
That's Red Dragon. That's what it is. Blurring the lines here, Josh. So at first, the investigators weren't even all sure that the tapes were made by the same person. The tone shifted, the method shifted, and even the voice, when he chose to speak, it changed from tape to tape. But there were patterns emerging. The staging, the need to escalate, and the obsessive cataloguing.
All right. Because obviously, spoiler alert, we don't actually ever get to find out who this guy is.
We're just going to call him he.
No. I am going to start, as we go along, spew my own little theories.
Okay.
I would just like to point out that before Christmas, we covered Billy Lenz, who was never caught. He might have burnt up, but he was never caught.
What, you think he's Billy Lenz?
He was a guy who was known to be able to throw his voice into different sounds. From female to male to child to animalistic.
And what,
to
as the
very
decades
steady.
went on, he just changed
saying,
from like phone calls to videotaping.
Just saying.
Okay.
It's a theory.
Well, one tape stood out immediately, and that tape became known as Tape 17. And that's where the focus of the entire case began to crystallize.
Tape 17 is one of those recordings that make seasoned investigators leave the room. Some called it the first signature tape, the moment where the guy behind the camera stops documenting and starts creating. And this guy has an English counterpart that we might cover this year. Let me just look up his name. You can keep talking. I'm going to look up this guy's
thank
name.
you. Tape 17 shows the abduction of a young woman named Cheryl Dempsey. And unlike the other early tapes, brief encounters or single location attacks, this one actually spanned a day. Weeks, eventually months. And it's the moment where the killer shifts from an opportunistic predator to something else entirely.
Max Howarth. That's who I was thinking of. He's the English equivalent. But he taped for a different reason. We will get into it when we cover him eventually.
Okay, cool.
Sorry. Okay.
Cheryl's abduction isn't filmed like a crime. It's filmed like a project. And for investigators, that changed everything.
This is where the myth of the Water Street Butcher really begins. Before that, he was just a faceless figure with a camera.
Mm-hmm.
But Cheryl, she was the one he chose to keep.
Yep.
This is fucked up.
It is. So before Cheryl Dempsey became the centre of the investigation, she was just a 19-year-old college student living in a quiet neighbourhood outside Poughkeepsie. She lived with her mother, she worked part-time, and had what friends described as a gentle and almost shy personality. Nothing about her life suggested she'd become the focal point of one of the most disturbing criminal investigations in American history. Cheryl vanished on a Sunday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon,
pardon me, a day ahead of myself. She was supposed to meet her boyfriend, but she never arrived, and her car was still in her driveway, parsed inside, nothing out of place. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle, and on the surface, it looked like she simply walked out, but tape 17 told a very different story.
Just saying.
Here we go.
Claire Harrison.
Uh-huh.
In the Billy Lenn story.
Uh-huh.
Went missing.
She did.
All her stuff was still in her room.
It was.
And we described it as it looked like she simply dropped everything and walked out.
We did.
Just saying. I don't know he'd be old at this point. I'm just saying. He wouldn't even be that old. This is 2006. So this is like 20 years ago, which means we said last time the baby 17, he'd be more than capable of still doing this shit.
Would he be capable of some of the things? Yeah, I know he would be.
And Poughkeepsie is New York, right? So that's not a million miles away from the Canadian border where all that shit happened with Billy Lenn's. So tape 17 is the killer's origin story in a way. Not his first crime. He had plenty before that. But the moment he decides he needs more than a moment of violence, he wants a relationship, a narrative. It's the tape where he starts playing director.
So the tape begins with killer watching Cheryl through her bedroom window. Not for seconds or minutes. Not even. It was hours. Yeah. So he whispers to himself and sometimes he talks to her like she can hear. Other times he talks to the camera explaining why he chose her. He liked how she moved. He liked that she kept her curtains open. He liked that she didn't lock her windows during the day. All mundane details, but to him, they were invitations. Imagine coming across an unlocked window and being like, that girl wants me.
That's how Richie Ramirez is working out.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a line of thought.
Open window. All right.
Nice.
Open windows, open legs. Let's do this. That is one of my biggest fears, especially if I've had a smoke and I'll go into the kitchen at the end of the night and we have those curtains that kind of only go halfway
I'm always
down.
terrified. I'm going to see somebody peeking out over the curtain.
Yeah.
I can open the big curtains and look outside them, no problem. Yeah. But it's those short curtains that I'm like, somebody's peeping in over.
I don't know why though. When I'm high, it's always D'Angelo I picture fucking peeping in at me.
Sometimes I picture your man from Home Improvement. The neighbor.
Alan?
No, the neighbor.
Oh.
Because you can just see him over the fence. You just see the fishing hat.
Weird one. At least mine's an actual killer.
At least mine's not a killer, Josh.
Yeah, but I should be afraid of mine.
Yeah, okay. I have an irrational fear of Tim Allen's neighbor.
Except is Tim Allen's neighbor still alive? But he at least he's still on the loose, actually. Because technically, D'Angelo can't do shit to me, can he? He's locked up and all old and wrinkly and
only Tim's neighbor can.
Home Improvement. I can't even remember the guy's name.
Was it Al?
No, Al was he's Wilson.
Wilson. Earl Hindman played him. So Earl
Wilson Jr. He's dead. You're safe.
2003. Go away.
So this couldn't even be him. This is later on.
No.
So he is officially off the suspect.
I didn't have him on
Wilson
the
is off the suspect list.
Wilson.
So he wasn't picking at random. He was auditioning these people. He was waiting for someone who fit whatever story he already built in his head. And Cheryl, she was the perfect casting for him.
The abduction itself is sudden. He uses a ruse, knocking softly, pretending to be a neighbor. Now, Josh, don't tell me it wasn't him. When she opens the door, he forces his way in and the struggle is chaotic. It lasts less than 30 seconds and then Cheryl disappears from the world for the next 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. Yep. Most victims of serial kidnappers don't survive the first 24 hours. Cheryl lived for nearly a decade in captivity.
Lived is a generous word there. She existed. That's probably closer to it. What he put her through, it wasn't just torture, it was conditioning, breaking her down and rebuilding her with parts missing.
Yeah.
It's cult-like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the tapes documenting Cheryl's captivity are some of the most disturbing in the entire collection. There are long stretches where she's chained to a wall, others where he forces her to thank him, praise him, or accept blame for things that she never did. And over time, her personality begins to erode. Her voice changes, her posture collapses, her eyes lose focus, and she begins repeating his words back to him like a script. And one of the most chilling revelations from the tapes is how completely he transforms her. By the later recordings, Cheryl refers to him as master. Not once, not under duress, but naturally, like automatically. Like the identity he imposed on her had overwritten the one that she was born with.
This is why the case messed up so many investigators. It wasn't just that he tortured her. It was that he succeeded. He rewired her. Most killers want power for a moment. This guy wanted power forever.
Yep.
Feels like the guy was really like to experiment, play with his food.
Like a cat.
A way to describe. Yeah.
Yeah, let him off,
But
bring
he
him back.
obviously had something for Cheryl that he didn't have for the rest.
Yes. So one interview later in the case features Cheryl after she's rescued. And what should have been a breakthrough, finding a missing woman alive, instead became one of the darkest chapters because Cheryl didn't return home. She returned broken. Investigators said it was like speaking to someone who'd been hollowed out, and her sense of identity was almost gone. She insisted she loved her captor, that she belonged to him, and that he would come back for her. And she wasn't afraid of that, of him coming back for her. She almost welcomed it. She did welcome it. Her ordeal ended only months after her rescue, when she unfortunately took her own life.
Yay.
She left a handwritten note, and the contents of that note have never been released.
The worst part is he predicted it. On tape, he said she'd never survive without him.
Yeah.
That's no one, that no one else could care for her the way he did, and he wasn't bragging. He meant it.
Yeah.
He believed he owned her so completely that the outside world would kill her faster than he ever could. And for once, he was right. He had the woman institutionalized.
Oh, it was a severe case of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, it's just a sad end, especially when you 8 years of being stuck in captivity with a serial killer, you finally escape and you can't handle it.
No.
And you end up dead anyway. So she's one of his victims,
like you said,
regardless
institutionalized.
of whether he actually physically killed her or not. I would count her as someone he killed.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the slowest form of torture and murder that I have ever heard.
So while the tapes focused heavily on Cheryl, investigators quickly realised that she wasn't the only thread in the killer's tapestry. The archive revealed dozens of victims, each filmed with the same obsessive precision. But one section of the case stood out as the most catastrophic failure in the investigation, because the Water Street butcher wasn't just prolific. He was organised, and he was smart enough to frame someone else. The man who would become the centre of that disaster was James Foley, a former police officer from the region. Foley was known locally. He'd had a controversial career, a messy dismissal, and a reputation for unpredictability. He also had a temper, a drinking problem, and a personal connection to several areas where the killer operated. So that was enough to catch attention.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't enough to prove anything. That didn't stop investigators from trying, though.
This is what happens when you have a whole city freaking out and hire up demanding a name, you know?
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's the right guy, they just need someone whose mugshot looks like, yeah, he'd do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Foley, he had angry divorced uncle energy.
Ah.
I mean, really easy to pin a nightmare on a guy like that, you know?
Oh, yeah. So Foley was picked up for questioning after a woman claimed that she saw him acting suspiciously outside her home. That alone wouldn't have kept him, but the timing was explosive. It happened barely a month after the first tapes were discovered, and tensions were high. Politicians were getting involved, and the community desperately wanted closure. The investigation into Foley snowballed, and searches of his home yielded nothing. No tapes, no trophies, no evidence of stalking or abduction, but investigators kept digging. And eventually, they found something. A single hair in the back of Foley's car that appeared to match one of the early victims. Later retesting would show that the match was inconclusive at best, contaminated at worst, but by then, it didn't matter. They had a direction, and they stopped looking for any other suspects.
This is what you call a career-saving find. If that hair had come from a dog or a damn carpet sample, they still would have, used it, you know?
Yeah.
They wanted Foley to be guilty so badly that they would have taped that confession out of him if they could.
Oh, yeah.
They would have. They were going to get this guy one way or the other, and
They needed to make it look like they were doing their jobs and doing their jobs well.
But I would assume when it comes to police work, a lot of the time you just have to look at whatever makes sense. I mean, obviously nowadays
You
they're
have
gonna
to prove
evidence
beyond
and
all doubt. Like,
but there has to be a sense of journey investigation of the simplest answer is most likely the answer. Not everything is going to be this huge weird investigation.
that's the saying, isn't it? Usually the correct answer is the most simple answer.
The most obvious.
The most obvious.
So, I don't know.
So Foley was arrested and charged and tried in the court of public opinion long before an actual court. News outlets labelled him as a predator. Talk shows speculated about his double life, and neighbours came forward with stories that suddenly seemed sinister in hindsight. The prosecution built a narrative around him, a disgraced ex-cop with a history of volatility who finally snapped. They couldn't prove he made the tapes, so they argued that he destroyed them. They couldn't prove he killed specific victims, so they argued that he hid the bodies as well. It was a case that was held together with fear, and the killer exploited that.
Oh, he loved it.
Mm.
Imagine being the real guy and watching someone else get dragged to hell for your work. It's like when a magician nails a trick so perfectly the audience blames the wrong assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fucked up because you got like similar shit happening over here at one point where with the demon or the beast of Baltinglass, Larry Murphy, and yeah, if he was in this position, he would have been fucking fried for it. But over here, they really did have to try and find the bodies that he hid very well.
They did, and one of them that was kind of possibly pinned on him as being kind of pinned possibly to somebody else this year, wasn't it? I'm not saying that exonerates him. It didn't. I haven't heard anything about it since.
Anyway.
So in the middle of Foley's prosecution, a new tape surfaced. Not in the house on Water Street, but delivered anonymously to a police substation miles away. On it, the killer taunted investigators. He filmed a newspaper article about Foley's arrest, and he laughed and he called Foley a gift. And at the end, he turned the camera on himself, but not enough to show his face, but enough to make one thing clear. He was still free and he was still watching.
This is the part where investigators realised they hadn't caught a killer, they had caught an audience member.
Pretty much, yeah. But the tape wasn't released publicly. It was buried, and Foley's trial continued, and he was convicted, and he died in prison 3 years later. America is fucking terrible for that. It's like Aileen Wuornos. I mean, they knew there was evidence there against the first victim, and he just smirked and was like, well, whatever.
This is why death penalties don't work.
No, they don't.
You know,
they don't. I think there should be death penalty, but I think it has to be for the most heinous caught in the act crime.
Yeah, but nobody's going to admit to that. That's the problem. No one's going to admit it if they know the death penalty is coming.
No, but I mean, like, if beyond all doubt, and I mean, like, for cases like child murdering, things like that.
It's a weird one. I don't know.
It's very kind of for and against, to be honest. So the killer's anonymous tape was discovered only after his death when an internal review uncovered it in a misfiled evidence box. But by then, the damage was done.
The wrong man had paid the price. The real killer had celebrated in the trial. The trail even had gone cold.
But, and the trial, I suppose, as well, if they have the wrong person.
Well, yeah, I mean, could this have been a person as well? We say this guy was an ex-cop who rubbed people up the wrong way. Could it have been a case of someone intentionally fucking mislabeled the evidence to let him fry for it? Someone who didn't like him to begin with? Could be more than one monster in this story, Amy.
Absolutely. So with Cheryl Dempsey's captivity and the Foley frame-up dominating attention, investigators turned to the tapes themselves. That's where the full scope of the Water Street Butcher's meticulous planning became horrifyingly clear. He didn't just stalk and kill, he created a system. Every victim, every abduction, every recording was catalogued. Some tapes were labelled by date and others by location, some even by the type of attack or the psychological state of the victim and the masks. The killer used them strategically, and they weren't just costume choices for shock value alone, they were tools of control.
Okay, so I hear you about the meticulous labeling and putting everything in order and all that stuff. And I would just like to state that in 2006, I was only 18 and I was still living in my parents' house, and I've never lived in America. I've never been in America, not once.
Okay. I wonder. I was trying to figure out where you're going with that. I believe that you weren't this person. 'Tis okay. Or are you holding me in captivity for the last 11 years, 12 years, 13 years?
13.
Shit, I can't even keep track of time, Josh. That's how bad you are.
And masks are the ultimate intimidation weapon here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in general, there's a reason we use them on Halloween. There's a reason why every horror movie, slasher movie has a masked killer in it, because it's the not knowing that's scary, or not being able to see those features. But in his case, they're also part of the performance. He's testing his victim, testing the police, and reinforcing his own identity as someone untouchable.
The earliest masks were simple. Flesh-coloured latex hoods with cutouts for eyes.
That's worse than a detailed mask.
Oh, yeah. No detail at all is worse than I need to see facial features.
Yep.
Yeah. He wore them during home invasions, concealing his face while maintaining control over the victim's perception. Later, he moved to more elaborate designs. One of the most infamous was the beaked plague doctor mask used during the gas station abduction. It wasn't just to hide his identity. It made him larger, more threatening, inhuman.
Yeah, and see, this is what I don't understand. What fucking doctor thought this was a good idea back in plague time? It's the plague sucks.
There's a reason
I know
behind
what
them.
the reasons for, but you could still have done it in a nicer design. The top hat was unnecessary. The rest of the fucking clothes were unnecessary.
I don't think the top hat is historically accurate all the time.
They look ridiculous. It's like fucking this plague that at that time they believe God has sent to fucking get them all. And then the person that's supposed to help them comes in looking like a fucking demon from hell.
You see, I think
An
that
oversized
I understand why they had the long beak, but I think it was only made into a beak to make it a bit more pleasant to the eye. Otherwise, it'd just be this big long thing. I think they're kind of cool, Josh. Not everybody finds them creepy.
If you were on your deathbed, if you're in fucking bed, I mean, the modern equivalent is being a child and seeing John Cena or Spider-Man walk into your hospital room. You see this guy coming, you might as well be seeing death walk through your fucking door.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? I mean, it's like, fuck me. There's a giant, scary crow coming for me. And I obviously have the plague. I'm not going to survive this.
But not all these, they're only called plague doctors because that's where they would have been seen most. But they would have worn that mask for none all the time fatal diseases.
Just saying.
They are, no, I'll give you that. They do look creepy. I don't personally find them creepy. I kind of find them a bit interesting.
Even though I do find it hilarious that John Cena, the kind of embodiment of never give up, fucking, be all you can be.
It's kind of the death knell when you see him and you're sick.
Literally the fucking, the Grim Reaper for children, sick children. That guy's done the most make-a-wishes, and if he's making your wish, you don't have much time left, man.
Why are all the make-a-wishes for...
No, I don't think they all... I don't think it's a terminal thing. It's just... Sometimes it could just be... You're really bad. You're not...
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. They're not all terminal, no, but
okay.
It's still... It's not good if you're getting one.
I don't think I could handle that. I think I could do one or two, but if you're doing it, I think my heart will break for them. Do you know? It'd be a very hard thing to do, I think.
Well, for him, I suppose it might be easier because he doesn't have kids.
So there's a detachment. Not a detachment. I don't mean it like that.
I know
he's great with kids. I've seen him with kids. He's a fucking sweetheart.
It affected Bryan Danielson a lot more.
Oh, but he comes across a lot more kind of sensitive.
Because they still run that thing. Stephanie McMahon still runs Connor's Cure, which is a cancer.
I remember Connor.
Yeah, a cancer fucking research thing for children.
Yeah.
And they had that kid Connor who was mad about fucking Bryan Danielson, and he got really close with Bryan Danielson, and
Bryan Danielson, he cried, but didn't he? Was it Raw or was it at the Hall of Fame?
I've seen Bryan Danielson cry.
Oh no, but I mean just over he got, like you said, he was very close with the kid, Yeah.
So I imagine that is tougher. Especially then when you're someone who wants kids. I don't think he had children himself.
No, I don't think so.
He was obviously, he was he's that kind of family man.
Family guy,
He's it's like John Cena is your prototype fucking professional or sports entertainer, and then Bryan Danielson is your perfect fucking professional wrestler. And that even then in their personalities, you could see that where John Cena's heading for Hollywood, and all fucking Danielson wants to do is go home and raise a family.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I could picture him on a farm, yeah.
His compost toilet seat.
Yeah, I was thinking self-sufficient. So then there were the black canvas masks,
Okay.
featureless and tight, used when Cheryl was restrained.
Not as scary because I instantly associate them with BDSM gimps.
Yeah, I find the gimp masks a bit comical, to be honest. I think that's from Pulp Fiction, though.
Yeah.
The effect on Cheryl, though, was terrifying. She wasn't interacting with a person anymore. She was interacting with basically a void.
Well, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. If I wake up in a fucking BDSM dungeon that I did not fucking say I wanted to go to or be involved in, and there was no safe word, and suddenly someone came in dressed like a gimp with weaponry and stuff like that, then I'd be freaked out. Yeah, of course I would.
I think, though, I know, yeah, no, dead right. But I think that if you walked into the sitting room one night all dressed up like a gimp, I couldn't help. I collapse on the floor laughing. And then I'd be like, okay, what do you want to do?
But that's not how this guy was using about it. Every mask for this guy is psychological warfare. Some are about hiding, some are about projecting fear, and the best part, he knows exactly what each victim reacts to. The guy's a method actor with a penchant for torture. He knows from studying them beforehand what it is that's going to get under their skin the most.
He does. Sorry, I'm still thinking of you in the gimp.
You know you think it's
No. Okay, cool. You know I love you. Oh, does that mean you just shut the fuck up? So, toward the end, the killer didn't need a mask for Cheryl. By then,
Poughkeepsie could be your safe word.
You're giving this way too much thought, Josh. Okay, we can discuss it later if you'd like. By then, he had conditioned Cheryl so thoroughly that his presence alone, his face, his voice was enough to enforce compliance. She called him master without prompting, and she obeyed without thought. Beyond masks, the tapes show the killer's evolving strategies. So the pre-abduction surveillance was following, photographing, and recording his target for weeks. The controlled environment with basements, crawl spaces, and hidden rooms designed for maximum psychological stress. Conditioning and breakdown, which was isolation, sleep deprivation, forced speech, and constant reinforcement. Documentation and analysis in reviewing each tape, noting reactions, and cataloguing behaviors. The guy mustn't have had a day job.
But that's what I'm saying. This was everything to him. It must have been like...
all day, every day.
Yeah, they must have... We should have been looking for someone with money.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to fucking pull all this off. And you know, you mentioned early on, like, you know, about her being called him master without prompting. It feels like if I didn't know how her story ends, it would just be like, well, yeah, that's a survival thing, isn't it? You know what he wants to hear, so you're going to do everything. And as time goes on and time keeps ticking on, and you see him bringing other victims and killing them off, but you're still staying there. It's like, well, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and he's going to leave me survive. Yeah. And your survival instinct is going to kick in. But clearly that was not the case with her, because when she got out, she wanted back in. But yeah, it's like like you said, this guy, he treated this thing must have taken up every second of his life. It was a twisted science project where humans are the variables. Every tape is a case study. Every victim is a footnote. And for him, that's the fun part.
Yes. Yep. Investigators described it as looking at someone cataloging prey like a wildlife biologist, but with the malicious intent to destroy instead of preserve. Even the post-Foley era shows his methods evolving. He became bolder, more theatrical, and more meticulous in leaving evidence designed to taunt law enforcement.
And again, if we didn't know how the situation had ended, this is like fucking Mark Lewis 2.0. This is like fucking remember the videotape killer we did last year?
Yeah.
And it's like this. This is like a guy who's testing out fucking people's fears again, and testing their limits of fear, and testing the limit of stress and fear, and videotaping it all.
And how much can I get this person to do?
It's literally Mark Lewis 2.0.
Yeah.
If we didn't know that he was dead and his father was dead, I'd be like, holy fucking shit.
So it's a different generation gone up in a few years, so
And I
things get more
suggest
extreme.
maybe it was his own offspring, but that dude was definitely a virgin.
Do you think?
Mark Lewis,
Yeah.
that guy was a virgin.
Not by choice, though, I'd say.
Incel?
Kind of. Yeah, but I know.
I mean, incel means involuntary
yeah,
celibate.
I don't think that. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think he acted like an incel.
Well, he murdered women.
He did murder
to
women.
see fear and
Yeah.
instead of-
But he also knew that it was a problem.
yeah, okay.
Do you know, it wasn't that,
A self-hating incel.
it wasn't that he thought he needed to take back power from women or anything like that. The man had an obsession with fear.
Okay. So where are we here? I'm lost.
Right there.
Okay. So, so every mask, every tactic, every tape, part of the system built to evade capture and maximize control over the people he targeted. He knew what he knows what he's doing. This guy is well practiced.
Yeah.
Which would have me think that they should... I mean, if I was the investigator, my thought process would be we need to start investigating disappearances from fucking maybe 10, 15 years ago that were messier, that came back.
First chances, like.
That we couldn't really pin on someone, but we might be able to reevaluate now and look for new evidence, because this guy seems like someone who practiced a lot before he started.
And looking for the right person that he could mold, I'd say, as well, because not everybody is that.
I think there was rehearsals before
the
final film was fucking, the reels started rolling, you know?
Definitely. So after James Foley's wrongful conviction, the Water Street Butcher didn't slow down. In fact, the tapes show a clear escalation. As we said, he became bolder, theatrical, and more meticulous in how he approached his crimes. And one of the most chilling examples comes from what investigators called the gas station abduction. The killer approached a woman fueling her car wearing a long beaked plague mask. He abducted her swiftly, leaving no trace of struggle visible in public. This was no longer someone hiding in the shadows. He was taking risks that might have exposed him, seemingly to prove a point.
And that's classic predator bravado. If you've been getting away with it for years, eventually you start testing your limits.
Yeah.
It's the I dare you to stop me phase, except, with chains and psychological torture instead of actual dares.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I've heard people comparing Donald Trump to this lately. It's this kind of idea of he keeps being left get away with so fucking much that now he's gotten to the point. He's gotten to the point of I'm untouchable.
I can put terrible plaques on these pictures.
Yeah.
That's the most childish thing I've ever fucking heard in my life.
Imagine that going into a presidential building, looking at the presidential fucking wall of former presidents, plaques underneath all their names. And the one before you has Sleepy Joe, the right wing or the left wing nut who fucking destroyed the country, blah, 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 blah. And down there is Bush, and it's like, oh, Bush was great.
Yeah. And you don't even have a picture. Your picture is a fucking pen. It's mind blowing.
I don't hate a lot.
Oh, no, I hate him. I hate him. Even... that caravan thing is winding me up as well that I saw last night. I don't know how old that video is, but he's standing there in the Oval Office and he's like, and the caravans. I think I might have invented that word. I might have. I might not. I was like, excuse me?
You know what would be fun?
What?
It wouldn't. It'd be a bit anticlimactic.
What, to interview him?
No. I was thinking a bit more extreme than that. Trump versus Netanyahu in a fucking fight to the death.
Not celebrity death match.
Yeah, but the problem is Netanyahu kicked fucking Trump all over the fucking ring.
Trump would fall asleep after like 2 seconds.
He'd have a heart attack and die.
Oh,
and then
well, yeah.
Netanyahu would win and we'd still be stuck with that prick. Except we wouldn't tell him that the prize for winning is a bullet behind the ear.
That's true.
You win! Congratulations, motherfucker.
So around the same time, the tapes indicate he began targeting children as well. One recording shows a young girl playing in her yard, and in a matter of seconds, he abducts her and leaves a tape in a dollhouse, a deliberate taunt for the authorities. And this wasn't just escalation, it was a statement.
It's disgusting.
Mm-hmm. The pattern is consistent. He strikes, documents, taunts, and then disappears before anyone can respond. Surveillance cameras, neighbours, even random passers-by, and none of it seems to deter him.
The guy's like a ghost with a DVR. And not the cute haunted house ghost, more like the one you wish haunted literally anyone else.
Yep.
Are you?
Yep.
But I mean, as soon as you put hands on a child,
You're a different kind of killer. You are like. Investigators eventually traced some of these abductions to specific locations, but by the time the police arrived, the victims were gone and the houses cleared, and the killer had vanished. The tape showed that the Water Street Butcher was not only escalating in violence, but also refining his strategy. His abductions became quicker, more precise, and psychologically devastating. Even the long-term captive, Cheryl, was moved frequently. He altered her environment to further destabilize her, changing rooms, removing objects, and varying the conditions of her confinement.
it's not just a crime spree at this point. It's full-on psychological war games. You know, every detail measured, every reaction logged, and he's winning because no one can predict them. I don't see. I have on one side of it. There's one side of me. It's like the death penalty is wrong. We shouldn't have the death penalty. And then on the other side of my brain, it's like, but torture would be fine, right? We could just, whatever he did to them, we do to him. So, like, look at everything that he did to Cheryl without killing him. And just, are you human if you do something like this?
Human, no would be my answer. But again, human rights groups would
but
be
then
like,
again, that falls into the exact same kind of line of thinking of the death penalty is like, what if you get it wrong? What if it's not right? It's,
at least you're still alive after torture, mostly. Might be altered, but you're still alive.
Tell that to Cheryl.
Can't.
Exactly.
So by the time the tapes were discovered, the Water Street Butcher had already begun to fade from the immediate radar of law enforcement. Yet the archive remained, a record of his decades-long reign of terror, showing a man who had mastered the art of evasion as skillfully as he had mastered the art of destruction.
And that's the terrifying part. He's not gone, he's just waiting. For now, all we have are these tapes to tell us what he was capable of, and believe me, they tell us everything.
The last segment of the tape collection shows the Water Street Butcher at his most audacious. Unlike earlier recordings, these aren't hidden away in basements or crawl spaces. They're filmed in open spaces, sometimes near roads, sometimes in abandoned houses, almost as if he's daring someone to catch him. The final tapes include brief but terrifying encounters with victims who are taken swiftly, often with little struggle captured on camera, and the recordings end abruptly, cutting away before the crimes are fully shown, but the implication is clear. He remains at large.
It's the ultimate mic drop of a psychopath. He doesn't just leave the scene, he leaves ambiguity, and that ambiguity haunts investigators, historians, and anyone who has studied this case. You can almost hear him laughing through the static. It's fucked up because at least with Zodiac, you kind of understood why he went missing. Because I don't give a shit what anyone says. Arthur Allen Lee, whichever way it goes, I don't give a shit. I believe he was the Zodiac. I don't fucking buy anyone else's bullshit. I think it was him because as soon as they started questioning him, suddenly it all stopped. As soon as he died, no one ever heard from the Zodiac again.
What a coward.
So, I mean, so for me, and at least in there, you could kind of fucking put that to rest and be like, okay, well, that's why the Zodiac went missing. He's not just like randomly fucking committing crimes somewhere else. But this guy, it's just, doesn't, you know?
No.
There's no indication at all. Not even close. Not a fucking clue. Not a hint as to who this could be.
No, like Jack the Ripper. So investigators never identified the locations of all these final abductions. The Water Street Butcher moved quickly, always keeping the authorities a step behind. Surveillance systems, witnesses, and even random police patrols never managed to catch him in the act. He also continued his psychological manipulation, and in some tapes he films newspaper articles about the previous arrests, particularly James Foley's conviction, and includes commentary directed at the police. He mocks their inability to identify him, labeling Foley a gift for providing them with a convenient scapegoat.
Imagine the satisfaction of knowing someone else took the fall for years of your work and the authorities didn't even suspect a thing. That's not just brazen, that's terrifyingly methodical. But it's also kind of unique. Because, I mean, usually killers would get pissed off when other people take credit for their crimes. You know, it's like, oh, that was me. I mean, that's the thing that brought BTK back out into the fucking light.
Yep.
was in 2004 they released a fucking news. It was a newspaper article.
Where are they now? Kind of thing.
About
Yeah.
fucking the anniversary of his first fucking murders of the Otero family.
That's so fucking bonkers. I don't understand why you need to write about the anniversary of somebody.
Because he hadn't been caught yet. It's the same reason
okay.
we keep talking about fucking Jack the Ripper or the Zodiac. It was kind of like, okay, it's been whatever 20, 30 years and this killer has never been caught. Maybe he's dead, maybe he's in jail, and just because he saw that, he was like, nope.
I'm here. Here's my floppy disk, guys.
I'm gonna go do it again. It's like fucking hell.
So Cheryl, the longest held captive, was eventually rescued, but the killer's influence lingered. The post-rescue interviews and recordings show she was psychologically devastated. She referred to him still as master even after regaining her freedom. And by all accounts, she never fully recovered and eventually died by suicide years later. The final tapes then serve as both a record of his crimes and a testament to his continued freedom. They show a man who had meticulously avoided capture while leaving behind a trail of destruction that saw law enforcement struggle to piece together.
He's gone, at least in the sense that we don't know where he is.
No.
But in the recordings, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Watching, mocking, controlling. The last thing he leaves you with is the realization that he's smarter, faster, and more terrifying than anyone chasing him.
Mm-hmm.
He is literally the apex predator of fucking serial killers.
Absolutely. The Water Street Butcher's archive remains one of the most disturbing criminal investigations in modern history. Every tape, every mask, every calculated move gives us a window into the mind of a man who was both predator and meticulous archivist. Even now, decades later, the question remains, is he still out there? Or has he vanished completely, leaving only the tapes to tell the story of his crimes?
Either way, the Water Street Butcher's legacy isn't in his name. It's in fear, control, and the reminders in these recordings that someone like him can exist right next door without anyone ever knowing.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the entirety of the tapes and the documented crimes, investigators began to build a profile of the Water Street Butcher. He was methodical, patient, and disturbingly intelligent. Each abduction and murder was not just opportunistic, it was deliberate. Every victim was studied beforehand and every recording meticulously catalogued. Psychologists analysing the tapes concluded that the killer exhibited traits of both organised and sadistic personality types. He had an intense need for control, not only over his victims, but also over the narrative of his crimes. And he wasn't satisfied with violence alone. He needed to document, review, and manipulate every aspect of the events he created.
Again, Mark Lewis, all the fucking way. Now, it might sound like we're kind of going to be repeating ourselves from here on out, but I mean, there is a limited amount of information about this man, you know, because he hasn't been caught. The
So we're just going to
investigation's
repeat the
open.
entire story.
No, what we have here is, what I put together here is there's going to be a bit repeated because we need to repeat them, but it's more about like you just said there about building the profile and stuff like that, and what police might have done or were doing or are doing to try and fucking thing. Because look, no case is ever really lost. I mean,
There's
Joseph James D'Angelo hadn't committed a crime that we knew of in at least 20 years before
and
he was
all it
caught.
took was a slice of pizza, wasn't that?
No, that you're thinking of Rex Horman. It was a can.
That's what it was. A can. Okay. The drinking can, like. Okay.
So that's the thing that makes him really chilling, though. Most serial offenders are sloppy, like him, like them.
Yeah.
This guy, most guys, they get caught by chance. And this guy, he turned murder into an art project, complete with grading sheets and display case. And unlike an artist, the medium here was people.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's the Banksy of serial killers. You don't know who he is. They just show up and it's like, oh, there's another one.
He also had a signature approach with his victims. Early assaults were opportunistic, women alone in their homes, small-scale break-ins, but over time he escalated. He began to abduct victims in public, sometimes in daylight, and eventually he held them long-term, as in the case of Cheryl Dempsey. His control over her was absolute, demonstrating an understanding of psychology that allowed him to break down and rebuild a human being to fit his desires.
It's so fucking weird. Anytime I hear of these cases of like, and it's usually families where like the father is locked the family, like Fritz, what's his that locks
Joseph
the family.
Fritzl.
Yeah, that locks the family for decades at a time in like these fucking underground bunkers and shit. Like, how does nobody not know this? How does this shit go?
The
by
mother
people?
did know, didn't she? No, the
No,
wife.
she claimed not to.
How do you not know your daughter's been locked?
Because he
into your
kept
fucking
fucking
basement?
sending her letters from a cult that she had apparently joined and claiming that she had been with. And then when there was a couple of situations like where he'd have inbred babies with his daughter, and the child might have to be taken out of the bunker to go to a hospital because they're sick. And he dropped the child at the door with a letter saying, "Oh, I had a baby. Can't take care of it. Leaving it with you. Gone back to the cult. See ya." You know.
So he raised his children.
Yeah, some of them that came out of the bunker into the house and lived there.
That poor girl.
Yeah, and then there was other ones like one of his sons. I think that like the bunker was only like 5 foot fucking tall, and his son was 6 foot, so his son had to walk around constantly hunched and shit like that.
Fucking
Weird.
hell. Yeah.
Anyway,
He looks like an evil man.
yes.
He does, though.
So this guy, he didn't just stop at his victims. He manipulated law enforcement too. The James Foley frame-up is proof of how confident he was in his control of the narrative. He knew exactly how to exploit investigative weaknesses and public assumptions. It's not just evil, it's strategic evil. This guy, like we said, he didn't get pissed off when somebody else was taking credit for his stuff.
No.
He waited for a while, and then he was like, "You fucked up. I just wasted your time." But police then wasted their own time by ignoring it and letting it fucking go on.
Exactly. One of the most disturbing aspects of his psychology is the apparent lack of empathy. And even when filming his victims... Apparent lack of empathy. Maybe he was hurting on the inside. No, I'm joking. So even when the filming of his victims was taking place, he appears detached and almost clinical. Yet he is deliberate in creating fear, pain, and psychological dependence. The tapes themselves serve both as documentation and extension of his control.
It's like watching a sociopath and a performance artist rolled into one. He understands fear. He understands obsession. He uses them as tools. And you can almost see him checking off the boxes in his head. Did she comply? Did she react like I wanted? Was the footage clear enough? You know?
Yep.
Fucking hell.
The Water Street Butcher's intelligence and obsession with control made him particularly difficult to apprehend. His ability to plan, escalate, and manipulate meant that even when law enforcement thought they had him cornered, he had already moved on. The case shows us that this wasn't random violence, it was highly structured. And each crime was part of a larger system. And the tapes left behind are not just evidence, they're a window into the mind of a predator who operated with chilling precision.
And that's the part that keeps people awake at night. This isn't just about what he did, it's about how he thought. And the more we look at the tapes, the more we realize that this level of control, patience, and cruelty is terrifyingly human.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to wonder as well, did he, was it a case of the format change of video that stopped this guy in his tracks? Was it the case of it's now too hard for me to get videotape replacements without being caught? Because you can't buy blank tapes anymore. You'd have to order them special, which means you have to order them special, which means you are now on a short list of suspects. If video cameras are being fucking repaired or old classic ones being bought, there's a record there. And if you use any of the newfangled equipment, you are leaving a fucking electronic stamp everywhere you fucking go.
Really? If you get like,
can
you get like a camcorder that runs on DVDs?
But I'm not 100% sure about that. But the point is, you still, that all that stuff is still not something you can just walk into a shop and buy these days.
No, that's true. That's true.
There will be a paper trail no matter what you did now. Is that what stopped this guy? Was it a case of, I'm just going to does he still do it without the videotape and I just have to study it this way, you know, and take notes?
Maybe.
Because, or is it a case of he does videotape them on his phone or whatever, but make sure he doesn't share them anymore because it would share too much of his own personal details, because you can't get a location stamp on a fucking VHS.
No.
You can't figure out where it was taken, when it was taken, what happened with it from a VHS. You can from everything else. Any other form of videotape material, you can. And I'm not saying you can't get blank VHS tapes now, or a VCR or an old camcorder now. I'm just saying that it will put you on a much shorter list than what it would have back when he was committing his crimes. Back when he was committing his crimes, he could have went into any old fucking, fucking pawn shop, discount shop, or electronic shop and pick up a fucking 5-pack, 10-pack of blank videotapes and walk out the fucking door, and it would have just been another sale that day. Now, if someone comes in, they'd have to ask for it. It would have to be ordered from, or they'd have to order it online themselves and have it delivered to a home, which would have to be registered to them as well. Yeah. So was the tapes such a big part of it for him that once tape went out of the fucking the conversation of how we view media, that he was just like, well, I gotta stop, or I at least keep it private now. Do you know?
Maybe. So the Water Street Butcher's crimes spanned more than a decade, and its victims ranged in age, occupation, and circumstance. And while some were brief encounters, others, as we said, like Cheryl, were prolonged and meticulously documented. Reviewing the tapes gives us insight into the scope of his activity and into the progression of his methods.
Yeah, and it's the sort of stuff that makes you lock your doors twice, check every shadow, and reconsider driving alone at night.
Yeah. And starting with his earliest known victims, he began with stalking and home invasions.
So we're going to have a quick look through some of these known victims, or some of the victims on the tapes, because not everybody's been identified. Most of these bodies haven't even been found.
Nope.
If it wasn't, I think, for Cheryl herself being found and being able to corroborate everything that was seen and saw, you could nearly say that maybe some of this was fucking fake. Maybe this was all performance art. Maybe it was just a fucking a hoax. But obviously, forensic specialists will be able to watch these tapes now and know what they're seeing.
Yeah.
So
victim 1 was the sleeping woman, and the first tape shows a woman sleeping in her bed. There's no visible signs of violence, but the tape demonstrates his voyeuristic tendencies. Victim 2 was housewife strangulation. A woman doing chores is later strangled in her own home, and the killer's confidence is beginning to escalate at this point. Victim 3, the bathroom woman. Another victim is ambushed in a domestic setting, and these early attacks show an evolution in his techniques and risk tolerance. Then the first major escalation outside the home occurred with the car couple attack. Victim 4 was the car boyfriend, stabbed through the window of a parked car. Victim 5 was the car girlfriend, dragged away, tortured, and ultimately killed.
This is the phase where he's testing boundaries, proving to himself he can commit public acts without being caught. And the public, they don't even see it coming.
No.
You don't. When you're out in pub, you're sitting in your car, you feel safe sitting in your car.
Of course, it's your car.
Do you know?
Yeah. And following that, the killer expanded his methods and theatrics. So victim 6 was the girl in the garden with the dollhouse tape that we mentioned. So that was a young girl abducted from her yard with the tape left in a dollhouse for police discovery. Victim 7 then was the gas station woman, the woman abducted in broad daylight while he wore the iconic plague-style mask. And then came Cheryl Dempsey, whose abduction became the most extensively documented and psychologically manipulative segment of the archive. Beyond Cheryl, the tapes indicate additional victims targeted for the Foley frame-up. Victim 8 was the basement hand victim, a severed hand planted as evidence against Foley. Victim 9 was Foley's apartment victim, another staged crime to further implicate Foley. The late era tapes document his continued activity. So victim 10 was the woman in the woods, or the duct tape victim, presumed murdered in an outdoor location. Victim 11, the final footage victim, the last tape of the killer approaching a woman's doorstep. Fate implied, but wasn't shown.
Yeah, and then there's the terrifying part. We know there are more victims. The tapes are only the ones investigators could find. Every missing person report from that era in the region could theoretically connect back to him.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to see the footage, there is a very, very cheesy documentary called the Poughkeepsie tapes. The footage is terrifying, but my God, whoever made that documentary was terrible. It feels like a mockumentary you're watching. It feels like,
so?
Oh my God, the segments with the professionals are some of the most cheesiest tape fucking. That stuff had to have been scripted. That guy, whoever made that part of the tape, but it's worth watching for the actual evolution of the killer and seeing the bits of the footage. They don't show anything too fucking grimy, but obviously they can't.
A lot of people say that they do, but it's not. They don't show that much.
No,
not at all.
No, I think again, it's like what we say about certain horror movies where you watch them and you think you see a lot of gore and stuff like that, but there's just a lot of implied violence that you then kind of imagine in your head, and you kind of think
You
saw
don't
it.
see any skin being penetrated
And I
or
think
torn or anything
just
like that.
seeing these women in fucking genuine fear,
And distress.
that you start to imagine what could be going on there, you know? And
Mm.
then you feel more, you think you've seen violence that you
Yeah.
haven't actually seen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, when I was watching the Rex Horman documentary,
Mm.
and they were talking about the fact that like there was a spot in the basement where they could see that there was a bolt where he had been able to handcuff women to. And I started to imagine the idea of these women being cuffed to the ceiling, begging him to fucking for freedom, and he is just walking around silently getting his bits and pieces ready and doing his thing and ignoring them and stuff like that. And that put the chills right fucking down me.
Oh, yeah. I don't like that.
You know, the thought of this lumbering fucking ogre of a man.
That's the only way you
showing
can describe him as a
absolutely
fucking
no
ogre.
empathy, you know?
No. I mean, you wouldn't have stood a chance against him unless you were the same size as him. The man is fucking... He'd have
No.
overpowered you in 2 seconds.
No.
Like.
That's why you always go for the eyes and the balls. Anything circular on a man, go for it.
Yeah.
They're the weak spots.
What's the thing in Miss Sing? Solar plex, instep, nose and groin.
I just stick with eyeballs and balls.
Yeah. And bite and nails if you're a
Yep.
girl. Or if you're a man.
Three Stooges,
Nothing wrong with biting and fucking scratching if you're a
Oh.
man to get yourself out of a situation like that.
For that situation, yeah.
Absolutely. So the chronological progression of the tapes illustrates a killer who evolved in both technique and psychological manipulation. Early voyeuristic behavior developed into home invasions, and these evolved into public abductions and long-term captivity. His confidence and control grew with each crime, culminating in the prolonged torment of Cheryl Dempsey and the brazen taunts sent to law enforcement.
It's a dark ladder.
Sure is.
Each rung shows escalation, sophistication, and cruelty. And the final rung, still out there, uncatchable, leaving tapes to prove he existed and dominated in ways most people can barely imagine.
In sum, the Water Street Butcher's timeline is horrifying in its precision. Each tape, each victim, each abduction forms a pattern that exposes not just his capacity for violence, but his meticulous mind, his obsession with control, and terrifying scope of his criminal enterprise. The Water Street Butcher remains one of the most chilling figures in criminal history, at least within the archives we have. His meticulous documentation, psychological manipulation, and ability to evade capture for over a decade set him apart from nearly every known serial offender. And even now, decades later, the tapes remain a haunting record of his crimes, a dark testament to the level of planning and obsession that he brought to every abduction and murder. They're studied carefully by investigators and psychologists, but the full horror is impossible to convey without seeing them firsthand.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Most serial killer stories end with a guy getting caught. Not this one. This guy's final act was disappearing, letting the chaos continue in the wake of his absence, making other people pay for his mistakes, mocking law enforcement while he remained free. That's what makes him legendary and terrifying.
Yes. Not legendary in a good way.
No.
The psychological impact on survivors like Cheryl cannot be overstated. Even after the rescue, the control he had over her persisted. Her eventual death is a stark reminder that survival isn't just physical, it's mental.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, it's a reminder that monsters aren't just lurking in dark alleyways. Sometimes they're organized, methodical, and living right next door, waiting, watching, cataloging.
The case of the Water Street Butcher... Excuse me.
No.
The case of the Water Street Butcher also serves as a warning about investigative oversights. The misidentification of James Foley and the delayed understanding of the killer's methods demonstrates how even the best efforts can be manipulated by someone patient, intelligent, and cruel. That's the thing. You'd have to be very patient.
That's what usually fucks up serial killers.
Yeah.
They're almost like addicts, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's a
kill,
small bit of the
gotta
drug
kill.
will do me fine for now, and I can do it on the weekends only, and then suddenly every night you're fucking snorting lines of cocaine off of fucking strippers' tits and fucking partying like crazy, and then it's like, oh no, I'm a drug addict. That's pretty much.
Oh no.
This sucks. I wish I wasn't snorting lines of cocaine off a stripper's tits. What a terrible drug.
I'm sure if you were like 5 years deep into it and it's what you're doing every night, you'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have started this.
Yeah, that's when you're now broke from taking so much drugs, and you're taking lines of speed off of the daytime strippers, the boobies that are down by their knees.
I can see death clock strippers, death clock like style ones. Oh my god!
Right away, it's the same with serial killers. First one, it could be like one a year, and then next thing it's 2 a year, then it's like one a month,
Yeah.
and then it's like one a week, and then it's like this guy's killed like 3 people this week, and we caught him. You know,
Pretty much.
and that's why we keep coming back to cases like this, not just to recount the horror, but to try and understand it, to see the patterns, and maybe prevent something similar in the future, or at least learn how to recognize the signs early. Because as we have already fucking pointed out, this very, very similar thing happened in 1960,
Sure did.
40 years before any of this shit happened.
Yeah, he didn't want people to call him master and stuff, though.
But you don't know how that would have escalated.
No, I don't know how that would have escalated, but I think that
would
he
finish
didn't
off
start
a lot
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Maybe confidence would have grown with time, and things would have gotten worse. And if it's a research thing, like someone who feels like they're doing some sort of fucking weird fucking science experiment, it's eventually going to escalate. It's eventually going to be, well, I found out all I can about doing it this way. What happens if I do it this way? What happens if I do it that way? What happens if I
It's
keep
just
my life
pity
for
at
a
the
while?
end of his research was looking at his own fear. Well, not when I say pity, I know he killed people, but I mean, thank fuck.
It was,
But like, it was like he had it all planned. You know, he knew that this was going to be his last act, kind of thing.
Yeah, because when he found a girl he liked, he felt bad about it. Whereas when this guy found a girl he liked, he was like, well, I can keep and train this one.
Yeah, she's my pet now. Now, the Water Street Butcher may never be caught. He may be already gone, or he may still be out there. But what he left behind, the tapes, the patterns, the victims, remain a chilling legacy.
So lock your doors, check the locks twice, and remember, even when it seems quiet, someone like him could be cataloging the world right next door. Stay safe, stay aware, and stay curious.
Yes.
Now, this is usually the part of the show where we promote all our shit. But since we are going to be talking about all our shit on the Horrorverse Headlines this Friday, I will tell you to tune into the Horrorverse Headlines this Friday when we discuss how we are going to handle Patreon going on forward for the next year. But you can still go there and check out It's a Live Action, Celebrity Rap Sheet, Playing with Bones, Mini Monsters, Amy Rose's photos, and that's it. And video versions of this and the Horrorverse Headlines. And we will...
Or pop out to Twitch.
Oh, and check out Twitch to see Amy Rose every Monday, 10 till 12 Irish time, which is 4 to 6 Eastern in the US. So,
That's Amy Rose 9.
So check it out, the Horrorverse Headlines this Friday, right here. Same Alive time, same Horrorverse channel. See y'all next week. Love ya.
Bye-bye.